Hey, what's up, everybody? So, in today's video, I'd actually like to delve once again into a little bit more video analysis, specifically in a game that just occurred within the BLGS Apex Legends competition. The team we'll be looking at today will be the Falcons, comprised of three top tier talents and incredible legends essentially within the Apex Legends sphere of competitive scene. We'll be looking at Zero, Wxltzy, and Imperial Hal's gameplay and just assessing it with no audio. We'll be going down essentially how they were able to win a game that seemed like they were unable to win from the get go, as it seemed like everything was against them. And we're going to do a deep dive into understanding the intricacies, the concepts, as well as the details that went to making this win the win, as well as giving a little bit of a understanding as to some of the pitfalls and the mistakes that they did that essentially potentially either play towards their dub or was pretty cool to analyze as it really showcased their mettle in regard to being able to play despite being in rather unfortunate circumstances. Now, let's dive into the video. Now it's very interesting here because as you can see based off the map, this is Hal, this is Wxltzy, and this is Zero. They're hella split, but it's completely understandable because in this specific area, it's important to loot as much as you possibly can. Now Zero bubbles here, and he actually calms within the video itself that there are 3 free kills up. And unfortunately, he's too far up to the point where Hal and Wxltzy can't appropriately cover him. Zero gets pushed by the 3-man team and he gets absolutely destroyed, and it's unfortunate because, well, yeah. Can't really do much against the burst damage of multiple shotgun users just full sending and trying to ape you right from the get go, especially if you're full pushed up and your two teammates are pushed back anchoring with a hemlock and whatever long range weapon Wxltzy is using. So it was definitely a death that cannot be helped. But it's interesting as immediately Wxltzy and Imperial Hal pull back, essentially trying to find a way to be able to res Zero back. Zero's banner is still recoverable, but since they have Newcastle, which is this character that Wxltzy is playing, they're able to get the banner from a purple craftable station as showcased on the map. Now, when you're able to get to the point where you're close enough to respawn beacon, here we go. Let's get Zero resed. Pretty good, pretty good. They get Zero resed. Everyone's kind of up and up, playing together. But once again, Zero is pushed up hella freaking far. And Wxltzy and Hal can't get there in time. Considering the burst damage from snipers, from shotguns, the ask for Wxltzy and Hal to be right there with Zero is difficult. And Zero is playing a character called Gibraltar, which has massive surface area for just to eat up bullets. And yes, he has a little bit more damage soaking in terms of his overall HP, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's exactly the best for initiating like Zero, like the way Zero is. So unfortunately, another death from Zero here on an initiation attempt towards another team. Pretty much just gets jumped there, unfortunately. And once again, they're going to have to recover the banner through Purple Craftable Station, which is relatively in close proximity to Hal, and in turn, craft Zero's banner up and res him right here on this green marker, which showcases the respawn beacon. I believe Wxltzy will just go ahead and craft it all the way yonder, actually, never mind. And the banner should be relatively recoverable. Actually, I remember here Hal hears audio of another 3rd-man team being in his general area. Hal pulls up the wall here to essentially give him enough space, enough time to be able to find ways to get first shot advantage on the team pushing up to him. So he uses this here to be able to peek, get a quick shot with a Mastiff, doing good 60 damage. Puts down the Catalyst Spikes to create some spacing here and to zone a little bit while he hides behind this. Very unfortunate when he repositions back to this desk, because that's just in the perfect timing, right when the other Gibraltar, who has this little arm shield, peeks and gets a free shot on Hal before Hal is able to chuck his grenade. Unfortunately, he loses first shot advantage on Gibby as Gibby just timed it perfectly. Like, perfect timing, perfect positioning, right there, right now. Zero dies, and Hal essentially 1v3. Hal has a lot of zoning here, so they can't full push, but at the same time, the burst damage from shotguns is insane because despite Hal being able to do damage towards other players for 78, it means they can hit Hal for the same amount of damage, and this is exactly what happens here. Instant big shot from the Gibraltar's Mastiff leads to Hal's down. Zero is dead also far yonder. Hal dies. Now it's up to Wxltzy to be able to get them back into the game. Unfortunately, Zero and Hal are both dead. Wxltzy has to get them both back within the storm, essentially putting down a respawn beacon in hopes that nobody apes him while he's out there and trolls the entire game, pretty much compromising their position. But they get the res off, and now they have height advantage over here, and they're doing pretty good. They're sticking together more. Zero, once again, is pushing up a little bit too far, but at the same time, I feel like he can get away with it considering he has Gibby's bubble, and he knows Wxltzy and Hal cover him from height, but not too far away from height. Now they're pushing up with Zero a lot. They're sticking together, utilizing Gibraltar's dome shield a lot more. Wxltzy puts down a shield here, the Newcastle's forward shield, which is mobile shield, to watch their flank. Hal zones with the spikes. They push up. They push team in there. Hal, unfortunately, gets super bursted by the Catalyst and another team. This Hal's initiation, unfortunately, was not the most fruitful. Wxltzy gets beaten by Newcastle up here, and it's up to Zero to essentially clutch the res as he needs to make a retreat. As the Gibraltar ult, that is an artillery barrage, is essentially raining down on this little house that these two teams that we just fought in. Now they push Hal, finish Hal. Now once again, the most unfortunate circumstance comes to play, where one person on Falcons team now has to figure out how to res while there are 16 other squads in the game in this tiny ass motherfucking circle. So shit's fucking haywire. Unfortunate and very sad. But at the same time, all hope's not lost. There's still a chance. Zero gets both res cards. Wxltzy and Hal puts down respawn beacon. Now here's the thing, because the circle is so small, and because the putting down of the mobile respawn beacon is relatively loud and pretty much easy to tell in the midst of a game like this, a lot of teams will end up looking over to where Zero is placing the respawn beacon, and that is exactly what's going on here. They're peeking and they're trying to see if they can get an easy kill off of Zero by shooting him with whatever the fuck these poke guns are. Not necessarily high burst, so not a sniper, definitely something that's maybe a hemlock or something, but Zero's getting the res hero mobile respawn beacon. It's fantastic that Gibby Zero being the Gibraltar was able to get that res because, well, what better way to get a res protected while putting a dome shield over it? Gives full protection and ensures that Zero has enough time to get one res off and maybe get a reposition. But as we see, Zero is not able to. Zero does die to the long range fire as shown here all the way from this little area. Zero puts up his knockdown shield to be able to give enough time for Wxltzy, Newcastle, who has a phenomenal res ability, passive, which essentially makes it so he puts a shield over the person he's resing and he gets to move him around. Gives him enough time to be able to get to him. Zero is resed, about to get fully up. Hal pressures, anchors, defends, and now we're at the next part where they're essentially taking it slow. They notice two teams fighting at height on top of these stairs, and they start to inch over to see if they can get some good picks or pokes. Hal zones perfectly, being able to capitalize on them needing to rotate towards them in order to get the circle. So in order for them to actually make it through without getting stopped by the spikes, they will need to jump over here, which is unfortunately not exactly the best spot for them to do so, as it immediately puts them in range for Zero, Wxltzy, and Hal to obliterate them while jitter peeking on this little silo area. But once again, Zero and Wxltzy do get pushed right from behind from another team. Dome shield, make it a personal fight so they can't get third party from behind or from the front from long range combat, long range fire. Try to get a res, but the burst damage from all three of the guys after cycling back, as you can see, it's very smart that they do this. Wxltzy and Zero take the fight first, then Hal takes over by eating up most of the damage now, giving Zero and Wxltzy the chance to still stick on shield, while at the same time taking a lot of the heat off of the teammates that are close to getting cracked. Nades being chucked at them, they're being pressured. Wxltzy needs to reposition, and they reposition accordingly to these little silos, and they're now in a little tiny corner, which is able to be seen by this little crevice on top, which is unfortunate, but a good reposition by the team. They're probably coming, essentially pushing for full-on reposition towards circle. Now, it's really good here because Zero is most likely just yelling for them to follow. Hal instinctive notion, whether it be through comms or just pretty much intuition, is to pull a wall here, knowing that rotate will need to be covered in some way, shape, or form, not by a dome shield or not by Newcastle's mobile shield or wall. He's going to need to be able to catawall them forward towards circle, take advantage of the down guy, hit him once to essentially almost guarantee that the guy will die so they can't get a res off, and rotate towards dome shield, which is essentially their stopping point for the moment. Put his spikes down for full-on zoning to make it so that anybody who apes them from top, bottom, left, right essentially will get slowed if they take the shotgun 1v1s or 3v3s. Now, it's really cool here is because they notice the edge of a Gibby bubble right here, meaning that there's a team most likely housed within this general area that they just retreated from. Now, they have full advantage because they're sitting at the edge of circle, meaning that when the team rotates from Gibby bubble, not only will they most likely or have a good chance at touching Hal's catawall, which means one of them or two of them will be partially blinded, but they're going to be running straight into the oncoming crosshairs of Falcons, Zero, Wxltzy, and Hal, just staring, ADSing down the freaking pipe. And look what happens. Boom. Absolutely obliterated, one team down. Now they were being chased by another team. And it's cool too because a few of them are actually implementing some pretty good movement tech to be able to make the most out of their rotations. But unfortunately, this is what happens when you're playing endgame circle. It's very hard to be able to capitalize on late rotates and riding the storm when there are teams already looking at pretty much every single angle that you're trying to come through, and you're just prioritizing late rotates. It's difficult to be able to win off of that. And as you can see, despite them having good movement techs, they get insta-gibbed. It's not even a question. They get super killed. Easy loots, easy shield swaps, reset back to combat. Wxltzy gets a free kill on a kata right here because they have height. They have Newcastle wall right here, so they're able to hold for a good amount of time. They may not have ultimate height, but they do have advantage over anybody rotating from the right side, and are able to reasonably 50-50 challenge anybody coming from the left unless they come over this fence right here, which is relatively unreasonable, but it could happen. Now they're waiting on circle close to see where it comes next, brushing and poking. Perfect that they're the first people to climb over this fence and see what's going on their left. And it's really good that teams on their left are actually fighting, and that's probably what they're reacting to be able to capitalize on the third party. Catwall right there means teams moving forward, challenging Dome Shield team, and it probably will lead to an easy third party kill, or multiple kills. Team has ultimate height on that little building. They're focused on this Dome Shield to end, as it will end soon enough. They do have Newcastle wall right here, so they do have a little bit of holding ability, but they're breaking Newcastle wall. They have enough ammo to be able to do that. Absolutely lasering. Ooh, they're getting pressured by both sides, meaning that it's not exactly conducive. They got Dome Shield back, though. They're able to hold for a little bit more. They know they need to rotate as they realize that they're getting pressured by two teams, and this circle is about to close, and they're pretty much at the edge, so they know they need to rotate. Easy drops from pretty much Falcons to be able to capitalize on the rotates. All they need to do is ADS their general direction and hit their shots. Dome Shield here, perfect. They know a team's coming from here, so when they push up and ape, they're able to jiggle peek within the Dome Shield or within the edge of the Dome Shield without having to compromise too much of their surface area, leading to not much poking advantage from any teams that are trying to flank or third party their general fight. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. They're staying together now. They're not splitting too much. A lot of pings, a lot of pings, so they're able to take advantage. Hal is a little bit split, but Hal is making the right split here as he knows that coming from here, there's a good chance that no other team will be coming from this general area because that is essentially where they first came from. Remember when they put this Newcastle wall down earlier in the game? Yep. So Hal makes the good play to be able to see if there's anybody rotating from this side or this side because, well, the teams rotating from here will probably be a little bit more complacent as to how they rotate, as they're assuming that most of the teams are located closer to where Wxltzy and Zero are, as well as the rest of the shots and fighting is. For Hal to make this play and to rotate around and flank them here means he gets a free shot and potentially a free kill. Fortunately, no shots hit there, but it was a smart play. Hal is safe, and he's able to really play towards his incredible proficiency as being a fragger. Gets a backpack, gets some pretty good attachments, evac tower as well for great endgame plays potentially. Hal is really, really good at being able to play height or aerial and then jump down on other people. And this is incredible. This is literally God's spot. They have height, ultimate height in the game. Their rotations are forward, and they're legitimately able to pressure people who have full-on setups with Newcastle Wall. Shit's fucking bonkers. Hal is really, really good at placing throwables, especially when it comes to zoning, because look at that. Double zoning on the spikes means teams from here or here that are forced to rotate this way will essentially be slowed. This guy needs to rotate through here, meaning it's an easy tunnel for Hal and the rest of his team to ADS down and essentially kill. Good play on the dome shield because they know they're getting zoned the fuck out of the spikes. They put down a Newcastle wall right there, if you notice, just to have a little bit more positioning help. It's really smart for Wxltzy to pull up the mobile shield up to this edge here so they have more fighting power and ability to essentially peek. I don't recall what Gibby ult this is. I believe this is Zero's because there should be cracking. No, it's another defensive bombardment, it seems. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's Zero's. That's a really smart play here, to wait and then put down bubble shield right here, a little bit more into the barrage. Zero, Wxltzy, Hal, push up, put dome shield down, essentially being the latest to put dome shield down, which gives them an advantage because everyone else is in cooldown, and they're using mobile shield. Now, all they really need to do is shield bat, and realistically, since they're the ones to push, there isn't a real threat for other teams who are already fighting to push them and reciprocate that aggression. So it's a really smart play from Zero to essentially initiate that push by doing this, despite being bombarded by Gibby ult and getting hit for a little bit of their shield. Really smart play, and puts them in the best spot to win this game, pretty much. Now, they does miss a shot, but that team does die, and it would have led to their death anyways, either or. Team is positioned here, fighting another team positioned there. Really, really easy third party. Unfortunately, they do have Catwall and Mobile Shield, so they were taking their time, they're playing their position, and essentially it's a 1v1v1 in terms of teams. Hal puts a really good Catwall right here to be able to give them time to assess and take a second. Whoever put down that evac tower is fucking goated as hell. They know Newcastle Wall is here because Hal actually shoots it, and you can see the damage numbers come from the white. That means there's a Newcastle Wall right there. Dome shield right here. Zero puts down his own dome shield to interweave with the other dome shield that team just put down, and there's 3 dome shields right now, creating that ball effect. Now, Hal is really smart to take this play. He knows that once the dome shields essentially dissipate, there will be utter chaos. Now, being able to have the best possible chance at third partying this setup means Hal needs to take aerial and give them time to focus on each other before initiating combat. That is the best possible chance of success, and it's honestly a really smart play. Hal makes the timing perfect, because as you can see, Hal is already falling while they're getting damage to flesh. Zero and Wxltzy are a little bit late to the party, but they do jump off right when Hal is essentially about to make landfall. Now, Hal hits the ground. You see and you notice on the kill feed that 2 teammates from whatever team are already down. Perfect initiation for Hal to be able to get down there. Unfortunately, Zero and Wxltzy are getting chunked by Storm, so they're freaking getting obliterated, but Hal's timing is impeccable. Hal is essentially behind everybody else, and it's perfect because nobody is shooting at Hal whatsoever. He's only getting chunked by the storm damage. Hal is in the perfect spot to be able to not just kill NRG, but at the same time put himself in the best situation to survive even if the other full team is still alive. Because, well, Hal essentially landed with full HP, taking advantage of just full on longevity, even if everybody's getting ticked by storm damage, which leads to an amazing win. Absolutely incredible. I love analyzing this type of stuff because amazing wins that come from the depths of despair into absolutely incredible, masterful display of teamwork and execution, as well as timing and precision, is fantastic. It really showcases how esports is meant to be played and showcases that, these guys seem like they've essentially developed and have optimized their vibe. When you hear the comms, which I will link the original video in the description below, you'll notice that they're not necessarily super yelling at each other or being way too ultra micro to the point where it's incredibly grating. There's a trust to it. And they seem to be better in that groove as we continue to watch videos that are their games going into the BLGS finals or now going into ALGS, which is the big Apex Legends Global Series for this year. Can't wait to do more analysis on that and see how they do. But just so you guys know, pretty much the teams that I'm rooting for is 100 Thieves with Timmy, Jen, and Designful, Falcons with Zero, Wxltzy, and Hal, as well as the OG TSM team with Zapp, Verhulst, and Rep. Now, I know those are the three big ones, but at the same time, it's very interesting to me to see how each three teams work in terms of dynamic, approach, and understanding of how to accommodate for each other's playstyle and initiations or essentially fights. It's cool. So far, Falcons have an edge. Jen, Timmy, and Designful need to hash things out a little bit more. Jen and Timmy are have a lot more chemistry, and Designful is good, but there needs to be a little bit more mesh between the three in terms of just dynamic and vibes, honestly. And well, TSM looks to be pretty good, but still hashing out some of the details. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to do more analysis videos in regards to the ALGS as well as other teams as to how they did in the BLGS finals. I might do an analysis video on Team Liquid. Not sure yet. We'll see. I don't really know guys from Team Liquid, so I'm gonna have to actually just do my research. But at the same time, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And please, if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It would really, really help me out. Thank you once again, guys, and have a fantastic day. Bye bye now.